Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Well, welcome back to the show. We are joined once again by John Riggio, our professional tennis player, our architect, and our dear friend of the show. John, welcome to the show again today. Excited to have you here on the podcast, Zoomcast, and he's always surprising me with something new after all these years. And is it true you're friends with Richard Branson?
Yes, of course.
Of course. Look at you. Oh, my goodness. And he actually was one of your sponsors. So this is a great connection we're going to talk about today. And of course, more about John himself. I'll have him introduce himself and say hello to everyone before we start.
Hello, my name is John Riggio, and today I'm going to talk about some pro tennis playing from years ago. I have some nice stories. I think today I wanted to tell you about a story of when I was on court 33 at the National Tennis Center. I had my own court. And when I was there, I was playing my pro matches, and one of the coaches there is really the captain of the players, who was Vitas Gerulaitis. He told me that I need to really get more sponsors for me to really move ahead in tennis. And when I was there, also Boris Becker was there, and he was talking to me, and he was also suggesting the same thing. I really have to get more sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
They were also suggesting with the sponsors I would get more publicity too.
Yeah.
And so what happened was I called around to a few people I knew, and not all of them were interested in helping me. But I remembered when I was younger in the neighborhood I live in, I had met Sir Richard Branson. He used to live there in the same school district and went to the same schools and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I called him up and his company, and I forwarded the message through to see if they're interested in helping me out with the sponsorship with the pro tennis. And they came back, they said yes. So that was really good. I was really happy about it. And so now I'm on court 33, things really started to develop. What happened is they built a tennis center for me on Alley Pond, and it had a brand new building with showers, a locker room, a bubble over, I think it's supposed to be 6 courts. And they had a supervisor there in the building to maintain it. So while I was on court 33, they also had me go to my new tennis center at Alley Pond Court, not at court 33, at the Alley Pond. And so one interesting thing about that first is, so when I was younger, I met Richard Branson. He had already seen me playing in the gymnastics show in the school, because he was there. His children were going to the same exact elementary school, and they saw me win that gymnastics.
Wow.
And that was led to that Olympic Star program. So they already knew me from things like that. And then a few years later, I had a friend that his parent was friends with Richard Branson. So I had met him a couple times at their house.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to him. Richard Branson really thought I could really achieve as I grow up, gave me some advice.
Mm-hmm.
And then really one interesting thing at that age too was when I was younger, the schedule was so busy. Sometimes I have to wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Do all kinds of different things, and I end up going to sleep at maybe like 12 o'clock at night. So when I had talked to him one time, I remember I was over at my friend's house. It was already like 11:30 in the evening. It was already very late. So so I was still at that time about my schedule, because I was always wondering if the schedule I had, sometimes waking up very early, going to bed very late, and things like that were really correct. I wasn't sure if they were, this was like wearing down or something. And then I think after meeting Richard Branson, and he had the same kind of schedule, I thought maybe that kind of schedule was really like a schedule for success. I thought it was very interesting. And so from there, that was sort of really good. I sort of thought that that kind of schedule was really going to make me advance, and that it wasn't really wrong. So that's good. So then, now going back to Alley Pond, so they constructed the building in Alley Pond. They put the tennis bubble there, and I have some photographs. I could share them with you now.
As always, we love it.
The only problem is I don't have the original photographs. Okay, let me see.
Have you ever been to his private island or not yet?
In fact, as far as like a friendship, I only knew him as someone like a friend in the neighborhood.
Got
So
it.
I really haven't gone over his house, anything like that. And okay, so let me share this now. Okay. Yeah, just had to
There we
open that
go.
file up so it looks good.
Perfect.
Okay,
Awesome.
so what's happened here is I was able to find some pictures. They aren't pictures from my camera, they're just on the internet. A lot of them are coming from Google, things like that. And so the tennis area here at Alley Pond, a lot of it is still sort of intact. It
Wow.
hasn't changed that much. I noticed in recent years, like in year 2020,
Uh-huh.
it started to do another renovation. It really didn't change for many years. And
Wow.
I noticed they renovated a couple times. It looks like the tennis center there has a new name to it. So let me just go through some of these pictures. So this picture, what it
Sure.
is, it's looking at the whole line of courts in the summertime.
Okay.
This is because the new owners, they don't keep the bubble over the courts.
Mm-hmm.
Then they just left with that building. And the building you see in the distance here, it has some windows and a door
Yep.
opening. What isn't really the same as when it was originally constructed for me. So now this is one chapter where it says Alley Pond Tennis Center. They changed their name recently.
Yep.
And then this shows the overhead of, I could just zoom it in.
Wow.
This has overhead of the court. So this is an overhead picture, shows the whole line of tennis courts. This is now with the bubble over the courts. Okay, now this is showing a recent picture, but it shows to the right the building here. Now this
Yep.
building, the only thing about this building is originally when they did this for me, this whole area under this steel beam was all glass.
Oh
This
my
was all
goodness.
glass panels. Yes, it was built permanently with the
Uh-oh.
bubble stay in place.
I was gonna say what happened
And
to it.
yes, originally it was built where they put the bubble in place and they had
Okay.
all glass windows. And
Wow.
so that's why they had a big beam there. So
Mm-hmm.
this here is different because what they did is the new owners, they closed up the wall and they only use the bubble seasonally, just in the wintertime. And in the summer, they leave the courts open. So this is another overhead picture, shows the building here to the right, and then this long bubble here. And up to the right over here is where the parking is. There's a nice parking lot
Hmm.
right up there. So everyone come here to go to parking. This had a public park building here the whole time. That has been a long time. And from there, you walk into the building. And let's go to the next picture to see how it looks. Okay, this is the
Awesome.
same. Yeah, this one is pretty good because it shows here the major road here.
Yeah.
You turn off here on the Outer Pond, and you go into this parking lot. And here it has the I think there's some baseball
I think
field.
my parents had like their first kiss at Alley Pond Park. I just have to tell you that. They're both
Really?
from Whitestone, Queens. Yes.
Wow.
So I know off the Grand Central. I went past there. Yeah, I got off that one time and my dad showed me this is the Alley Pond. And I'm like, what's Alley Pond? I didn't know. Yeah, but
Yes. And so this is the whole thing here with the parking and everything. And so it works really good. So it's a nice location. Okay, so this is the picture of Sir Richard Branson. So I know him from where I used to live. And let's just go back to the pictures. Okay, good. Okay, so now, so one important thing about the whole thing with Richard Branson and the new courts, and I was just remembering this just recently. I really wasn't remembering every exact match and tournament and everything. But what happened was things became very successful for the whole sponsorship of Richard Branson. I was playing there at the Adi Pond, and they had me play all kinds of tournaments. I was teaching pro players that usually players that they really want them to win uh, a match, a big game. They used to send them to me to see if I could teach them how to win.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I go through the basic um, teaching of tennis with them, and it really was successful. I was successful in helping them out. A lot of times, a student would come to me. I would teach them for a while, and then they would try to play like a big tournament, and then they come back and tell me they won. So now
Yeah.
their sponsors won $500,000. So they're really happy about it.
Wow.
And the lessons they used to teach me, they were very expensive. I was told through the tennis network they had there, they had to pay the tennis center between $10,000 and $15,000 for a 1 hour lesson that I would give them. So it was really very valuable, and then they could, so for that much money in the lesson, they could end up winning a lot more money when they win the tournament. So it was working out pretty good for them. And
Wow.
then
Wow.
what happened is, most importantly, was there was one tournament that I played in, and it came down to the final match. So they set the final match at Adipam. My supervisor at the Adipam, who used to take care of the opening, closing of the doors, watching the whole tennis center, watching my games. His name was Henry Polanski, and he was employed by the city of New York. Because officially, the whole Adipam is really owned by the city of New York. And so that's how the whole building was working. And so what happened is he told me that we were going to have a big event, big final match, invite family, friends. They can come and see the big event. And so because of that, I invited some people, invited my girlfriend, invited family, invited neighborhood friends, things like that. And so the event came up. And so for the event, they really put it on a nice national television. It had all kinds of big television cameras there. They had signage on there for the name of the final match of that tournament. And so while we're there on the court, there's that wall is all glass originally. So everyone could sit in there. I think the room held maybe about 100 people. And so when I was there, what happened is Richard Branson was there. So on my side of the court, Richard Branson was there. I had other sponsors there, people that wanted to watch the match. Um, Family and friends were there to show up. Then on the other side was my opponent for the final match, and he had his sponsors there too, and some of their friends were there. So it was a full room. It was a televised match, and I won the match pretty big. And it was really a big
Yeah.
event. I was playing really excellent. They really liked my serves. I could ace my opponent, and I had one nice shot. I remember I hit my opponent hit it to my right side. I ran over and was able to hit the ball all the way across the court to beat them. And they were really amazed by it. They were really happy. So I had won the match. Everything was really good. And then after the match was over, um, we had a photo session. So the photo session, what we did was we waited for everyone to leave, and they had a picture with me and the trophy, and me, Richard Branson, and the trophy. He was happy to see me and everything, and so that was really big. And I don't have any photographs of that whole thing. I don't have pictures. They didn't give me a copy of the picture.
Ah, don't you wish you? I know, I know. If you're out there listening,
I don't know how to get a copy of the picture. I don't know, maybe one day I'll get a copy of the picture. I don't know, but it's somewhere. They have a very nice picture of me winning the match. And So that was really good.
That's so cool.
And I think one interesting thing is also with Richard Branson as my sponsor, they built the whole tennis center. And in the middle of that building that I had shown on the picture there,
Yep.
I had my own desk. They gave me this very nice desk. It's a $3,000 desk. The supervisor showed me the receipt for it. And it used to face the glass wall that looked out onto the courts. So then from to the left side is the locker rooms. They had a men's locker room and a ladies' locker room. And to the right was the entrance table and the door going out to outside. Now, I think that whole arrangement of the building hasn't changed. I think in 2020,
Wow.
they renovated and adjusted. I noticed the location of the door of that building was slightly different. And let me see if I can show a picture of that
Yeah.
door. I have it here. What I have to do is I have to just get this loaded up into my PDF. Okay, I have it here now.
Sure.
Okay, and let me just share it for you. Okay, good. Okay, so now what this is a series of some PDF files I just took today. These are on the internet. Now, what this is, this isn't the original photograph. This is just recently after they had changed the tennis center name, looks like this in recent times. And they changed the location of the door entrance. So the door entrance was over here on the side.
Yep.
But just recently, looks like they put in a handicap ramp and looks like this fabric vestibule.
I
And then
remember that.
But everything else is exactly the same. These windows they had in the original building, the roof, everything, the whole thing is different. It was a different color on the outside. It looks like they had painted over it recently, so it looks different now. And like I explained, on the other side of the wall was all glass. It was just a glass wall. The glass wall was very similar to like the glass wall they have at the southeast. It's still the same with the glass wall. I got a whole glass wall there. And let me see if I can get the next picture.
Haven't been there in 3 years to the tennis center. Did you go this year, or you just watch it on TV like the rest of us?
Which center? Which one?
In Queens, the U.S. Did you watch the Open and all that?
Yeah. Okay, so now this here, this is another picture. Okay, so this is coming through here. This is just a picture. Now this is showing the wall that's completely closed. But
Okay.
it shows basically how the window you would look onto the courts. So before this
Wow.
was a whole glass wall, but they had to change it because they changed the idea of having their tennis bubble only seasonal. So let me just show the
Wow.
next one.
So cool.
Okay, this is the
So
next
cool.
picture. This one is going to show the inside of the
Mm-hmm.
box. Let me just share this. Okay, so now this is showing the inside of the bubble. It used to look very similar to this. This is in recent time. This has the new lights and everything, new LED lighting they have in the bubbles. It used to look very similar to this. It isn't too different.
Yeah.
Let me get the next one now.
Dum-da-da, John Riggio, if you are listening, our tennis extraordinaire and architect extraordinaire.
Okay, so
Okay,
this is
Common Point, Queens.
and this is another PDF of a photograph. It shows here, just showing from the courts all the way down to the building. And this has the wall closed off with just openings of the windows. So this is the new one. It isn't the original one that was all glass. So that just shows another picture of that.
Wow.
And so that was really good. And I think the whole thing about the success of that final match that I won and everything is also equal to a lot of winnings. I think the winnings were like 25 times the cost of the tennis bubble and the building. It was really a big win. It was a real professional tennis match. And so there was a lot of money involved with the whole tournament and winning and the trophy and everything like that. So it was a big success at that point. I mean, that was really good. I called Richard Branson's company because I knew him from where I lived. And then just a few months later, winning really big. He's really doing excellent with this as a sponsorship. So it was really amazing. There was really no downside to it. What happened is at this point, as things went on with the tennis, since there were some things that happened there at the tennis court that I had said that they had closed that whole tennis court, but had nothing to do with me. So my tennis court, they moved it over to Sun East. But what happened is between that time and Sun East, Richard Branson sold his sport contract. So he sold it for $5 million to Gloria Vanderbilt.
Oh my goodness.
Gloria Vanderbilt and her sports group.
Wow.
So that is the time when that happened. I added it to my list on my webpage of events, but before I really didn't have the whole thing pieced together, but that's what was happening. So there was a name to the sponsor at that time from Court 33 and Addie Pond. And then at Sun East, the contract changed ownership, and then I'm on to the next sponsor. So that's really what was happening at that time. So I think that puts the pieces together. And I think the only one problem at this time was, even though I know Richard Branson from where I lived, and I called them, I had no problem with talking to him or anything like that, but there wasn't that much communication at this time.
Yeah.
I really didn't have any contact to call his company and really discuss everything that is going on. Because I think at the time when they had some kind of problem there in the tennis center with Henry Polanski, and it had nothing to do with me, I really couldn't call over to them and tell them. I didn't have a really everyday contact to talk to on that. And I think that could have delayed things a little. They could have delayed things maybe for 3 months, 6 months, a year.
Yeah.
My contract value would probably go up. Maybe it would go up ×5. I don't know. But so that caused a problem. And so that whole incident and the changing of the contract was separate from the time of the '87 US Open. So that was a different event. It had nothing to do with Richard Branson's contract or anything like that. But I think more communication might have helped a little, might have delayed things. The reason is because I think they have people inside the U.S. Tennis Center that I don't even know who they are, and a lot of times my sponsors have no idea who they are, who are waiting to grab anything they can. They couldn't wait to grab onto that bubble in the building and play with it. Because at the time when I had my sponsor Richard Branson and we built the thing, we were letting all the top pros in.
Wow. Always a story, always fascinating, John Riggio.
And probably the word gets back over to those people there, and they can't wait to grab at it because they had already did something with one of the tennis bubbles that was earned by Brian Godfrey years ago.
Wow.
Player that's about 14 years older than me. And they had given him this tennis bubble, and then he ended up leaving it there.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
The other pros, they told me the story that they really are holding his tennis bubble there, that he wasn't able to
crazy.
move it.
Well,
and it's the same situation where, the tennis bubble is constructed by like the sponsor. Wow. It isn't really owned by the player.
Didn't know that.
So they were able to really hold on to that tennis bubble too. So what had happened is they really weren't able to keep my tennis bubble even in Alley Pond. They took it, moved it.
Yeah.
And it was relocated into Sutton East later on.
Great. Well, John, thank you for being here. We must go. Tell us how we can contact you, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the best way to contact me is to go onto Facebook, look up John Riggio, pro tennis player, and you have my contact information. You can just send me a message.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Pleasure to have you here. I can't wait to see what else is in store. You always surprise me. Thank you. Go to the Facebook page, of course, check him out there. And if you need his architectural services, my goodness, he's brilliant at that too. He has many, many talents. John Riggio, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, my fellow tri-state area man. You're currently in New Jersey, right?
Yes, of course.
One state away. All right, John. Hopefully I meet you one of these days, and hopefully we can talk again next week. Thanks so much.
Yes, nice to meet you, Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the mytuner-radio, onlineradiobox, and simpleradio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.